Remember, this show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two.
Also, important note, if you don't get your medal from a woman dressed like a medieval peasant at the Full Moon Festival, it's not a Gymnastics World Cup.
Everybody knows
if
that.
You're organizing a Gymnastics World Cup, you have to, part of the proposal, the submission for hosting it is how many women are there going to be at a moon festival? And you're 3. And they're like, okay, now you can host a World Cup.
Norbert's is offering 10% off their vinyl cleaner and chalk cleaner. Go to norberts.com for a 10% discount on anything with the code GymCastic. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used on anything in their online store, no minimum. Just follow Norbert's Athletic on Instagram and comment and like the giveaway post. Chuso is officially back. We have a Cottbus report. There was a Winter Cup, and it went as Winter Cups generally go. Frederick Richard had a genius marketing campaign, and we're going to talk about it. We got a mini documentary on Oklahoma, and I'll tell you all about it, plus some NCAA news. It's February 24th, 2025, and welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. And let's start with the most important thing, awards. Let's start with some awards. Spencer, what awards would you like to do?
I have
not
some
headlines,
awards.
Awards.
No, headlines are over. We're post-headlines. We're just doing awards. The award, I think we need to start with the award for most Winter Cup, which goes to Zoey Molomo's bars, which was my favorite thing that I saw this weekend. I would say, Ollie Hogbin is fond of saying an unintentional dismount when someone falls on an apparatus. I would say this is a literal, actual unintentional dismount, because what happened to Zoey Molomo on bars, if you didn't see it, is she's on the low bar doing a toe on, I think for Maloney or Van Leeuwen, and peels off to a back tuck to stick to an actual dismount to look around in total confusion as you do at Winter Cup. Who am I? Where am I? What just happened? Where are the bars? Oh wait, they're behind me. How did that happen? It's great. It was pure Winter Cup.
This is also, I saw this and I was like, oh, this is exactly why you want to do gymnastics as an adult or as a kid at any age, because something unexpected will happen. And you will not die. You will hit a perfect stick position, no matter what happens.
It was great because it's very clear that she was like, I have no idea what just happened, but I stuck it. Just purely on instinct.
Hands out on
and now
side.
I'm like, wait, what did I just do? What happened?
The look around is the best. Who is your runner-up?
Oh yeah, I do have another one. I have a runner-up. The runner-up position is Clare Pease for getting a full point of neutral deductions for out of bounds on floor, which is also a pure Winter Cup move because lines are for June. We're not dealing with that yet. Just go out of bounds all you want, land out of bounds. It's fine. A full point in neutral deductions. It's solid. She won up Simone and that 6/10 of neutral deductions from the Olympics. She was just like, what about a point?
Double to out of bounds, lands. This is why it's so great that they added that extra part of the floor that's level instead of a slope with the Spieth AAI floor. This is what it's for. These things right now, so your ankles don't end up.
It's not for hitting. Winter Cup is not for clean gymnastics. We learned that this weekend. It's for let's see what silly things we can do.
Yep, exactly. I loved it. My award is for best way to get people talking about men's gymnastics, because Frederick Richard did a bunch of lead up posts to this meet about how he's always felt uncomfortable in a singlet and the gymnastics uniform, and he wants to really change it and revolutionize it. And so there was all this lead up and all this stuff, and people were like, oh my god, what's he gonna wear? And then we got to the meet and we were like, he's a genius, because he's just wearing a basketball uniform with pajamas under it. And it's brilliant because it's there's no revolution, there's nothing different, it's just literally a basketball uniform, but he is wearing tights, pajamas, long johns underneath, but everyone was talking about
to try to fulfill you have to wear pants on certain events.
Yes, I assume.
So he's like, well, I mean, these are leggings.
They're and they're white. That's the thing. He wore the white long johns with white socks, so you can see his legs better, in fact, wearing the tights under his basketball shorts. But and I think this is an actual gymnastics uniform that's made by Turn, all of that stuff. But I'm telling you what it looks like, and it just looks like a basketball uniform. But I do like that he wore the white, because you can actually see the angles of the knees and the feet position better. You can see how good his form is in this. But this is the thing. It's like there's nothing revolutionary about it, obviously. But this story was picked up everywhere. Like, people that don't know anything about gymnastics, and like it's their first time around, being the age that someone has tried to revolutionize the men's uniform, who don't know that, like, I think Justin Spring
Everyone's
tried this.
always hated the men's gymnastics uniform.
That the Hom brothers tried to do this, and we're just like, it's like they made a uniform that was like a little wider on the shoulders, and that was rejected. Like, this has been tried many, many times before. They were like, oh my God, it's a controversy. This is crazy. Someone's going to do something revolutionary. But the genius about this was everyone was talking about it before it even happened. Everyone during the meet was talking about Fred, whether they liked his outfit or not. And the marketing, even Ireland picked up this story about him getting a deduction on purpose to show that you could do gymnastics in a different, in a different outfit. But, the reason that this is never accepted, that there is no change, is that, and in my opinion, the men and women should wear exactly the same thing like they do in wrestling, which is just a singlet, and it can be long-legged or not. But you baggy stuff can get caught, and then you break your fingers, or it gets caught. I mean, this is like the biggest thing. Like, the baggy clothes is actually a hazard. And even
this like slightly loose basketball shirt, I don't think what he's wearing there's a danger there.
It's not probably on high bar, but on like pommel horse. The places where you're doing intricate things close to your body. So I think pommel horse is probably the only one that it is, and maybe a little bit on P bars. But yeah, in general, like I think on high bar floor, this isn't really going to be a hazard. But yeah, I'm just like, just make it fair. Make men and women wear exactly the same thing, like wrestling. I mean, this is also, in wrestling, why you work out you can work out in t-shirts, but you also break your finger, and it's your own fault if you're working on it in a t-shirt. So anyway, genius marketing. Our hats off.
I think
to Fred.
I think why it invited a little more criticism or antagonism than it would have otherwise was sort of the communication around it from Fred, which I think was not intentional. It's just kind of a communication phrasing sentiment error, but it did come across as little boys get bullied for being in gymnastics, for wearing the singlet, and the bullies are right, so you should change that about yourself, is basically the implication of what he was saying, which is kind of not the message you want to send. You want to send the other message, like, be who you are. And then the counter reality to that is, if people were dressing how they wanted to dress and being who they were, they wouldn't be wearing that dumb singlet. But, no one wants to wear that. It's horrible. But, so I think that's what invited a lot more antagonism and less embrace of this than there otherwise, or at least just fun with it, than there otherwise would have been. Like, oh, he's trying something new and different. Because it kind of felt like, oh, you're saying that, like, you should change yourself if you're getting bullied for doing, like, gymnastics. Like, you should change that about yourself.
Yeah, and it's not what he said; it's how it came across.
Right.
Like
I don't think that's the intent. I think that was the communication.
It could have been a PR campaign that was a little bit different, a different little wording that could have had this be accepted more. Like, if he had made the point about the white pajamas, that and then you can actually see better that his leg positions and toe positions with the white socks. But the thing is, that's counter to him saying, I want to wear baggy things because I don't feel comfortable in tight things, because he's literally wearing tights. So, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the tights part was just like, oh, because I have to add this part to try to fulfill something. That's not what I want to wear.
Yeah. Which is, but I mean, this is great. It was great. So many people were talking about men's gymnastics, and I think it was a genius move. So who knows what he's going to come up with for,
I know this is the most we've talked about men's gymnastics in like 20 years.
Yes. It's like, it's so exciting. Okay. Any other awards you want to give?
The NCAA women's gymnastics is just canceled at this point. Award, is that an award? Most reason to cancel NCAA women's gymnastics, because we have to talk about what happened at the Michigan hosting UCLA meet, because I was already getting a little testy about the scores, and then we got to Michigan's beam rotation where Kaylee Boozer fell, and then the score comes up, and one of the judges went 9.55 for a routine with a fall.
That's
which
not
is
possible.
a 0.5. That's not just like, oh, we saw it differently. That's like, you didn't know the rules. And it was like, I kept waiting for like, oh, there was obviously a score entry problem in Vertius, and this is going to be then resolved and fixed, and they'll put in the correct score that this judge gave. And then it wasn't fixed, and then it wasn't fixed, and it wasn't fixed. And the score is now just official that one of the judges went 9-9 start, 9.55 for a fall, which is, this is why.
Right.
Why do you accept any score? Why do you expect any fan to accept any score given in college gymnastics if you're having, this isn't even a mistake, like this is beyond mistake.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. It's not just like, oh, you know, casual error, it could happen to anyone. Like this should never happen.
This is all the evidence you need for why they needed the scoreboard, which is what they're calling the oversight committee, which they are gaining data to present to the NCAA to say, hey, just like all the other sports, we need a person in charge of the referees, the judges. We have never had that, and clearly we need it. And here's an example. This is so far beyond. It's a 0.5 point deduction, and the person's score had a 10th extra. They took a 4.5 instead of a 5/10 deduction for
with
a fall.
A 9-9 start.
Everybody,
so it was only 3.5 tenths in deductions.
I can't with this. Yeah, and this is the thing where people are like, well, the problem with the scoreboard is the judges, they've put a ceiling on the 10s and we're not getting enough 10s. And it's like, no, this basic judging
all got a 9.55. So
is the problem. Yeah, it should have been if it's a 9.9 start value, you have to take the 0.5 tenth deduction for the fall.
0.5 point, yeah.
0.5 point, sorry.
This is why also Jessica cannot be.
This is why I don't do math on, yes. You have to take the 0.5 point deduction for the fall. And then you also have to take whatever the reason for the fall was. So it's not a perfect fall. I guess would be you do a super high layout and it's perfect, except you just miss the beam,
and then you just intentionally seat drop.
Yeah, just like miss the beam and land on just directly to the side of it with no bent legs or error or anything. Like maybe, but that would still be it's impossible basically to get. There's no perfect 9.95. That's not. You have to take a deduction for the reason you fell. So this is. But now that person won't even get feedback from the scoreboard committee about what they did wrong because that was ended. But they'll be gathering the data, which is the important thing.
Oh, let's gather some data. This is also why I think it's a problem that now the official meet scores are not made public to, protect the identity of the judges. But it also is, if you're watching, now you're left thinking like, was this an issue with the score being entered incorrectly? One would hope, but it wasn't apparently. Was this a mistake? What's happening? Can we see the official results? You just are like, no, you don't get any information. You're just in the dark. You have to trust us, but there's no reason to trust you because there's just 9.55 for a fall.
Right.
So anyway, that score is just like official now.
Yeah, this is why I don't pay attention to the scores. You can't ever, what would you do? Just bang your head against the wall all the time, which is basically what half the podcast is. Welcome. Speaking of the podcast, some updates for you. So we're trying something new. Spencer wanted to try something new, so he is doing a watch along where you can comment along, watch a meet with Spencer and comment along right before we do College and Cocktails. So what time are you starting this Friday?
We're going to start at 3 p.m. Pacific. The meets start a little earlier this week. So we're going to start an hour earlier than we have been the last couple of weeks. We'll start at 3 p.m. Pacific, and then we'll go right into College and Cocktails after that.
And this is one of the many perks you get if you're a Club Gym Nerd member and you support our work all year long, like going to Jakarta this year to cover the World Championships, to tell you all the people that are coming up, all the things that are happening in another continent. We're finally having the it's a continent. It's another part of the world that hasn't had worlds before. So we're excited about it. Also, we are on Blue Sky, which is a alternative to Twitter without the Nazi in charge. So check us out on there. And it's very cool. You can follow exactly what you want. No one tells you what to follow on there. Also, College and Cocktails, where we pick a meet to watch, and then we all get together as a family and discuss it at length afterwards. The original NCAA Gymnastics post-meet show. Bring a friend. This week we are watching Battle Basement. Arkansas versus Alabama, fighting to make it to the SEC championships. These two amazing teams. And oh my God, who's going to make it? College and Cocktail starts immediately after the meet at 6:30-ish, depending. Like we had a meet this weekend with a 25-minute delay on Friday, February 28th. And a note that this is an hour earlier than the last several weeks. So 6:30 p.m. Pacific time is when we're starting. And you never have to miss an episode because there's a link in the show notes where you can add College and Cocktails to your calendar. So you always have it there to remind you to what we're watching and when to log on to talk about it. Also, fantasy gymnastics update, just like a regular fantasy league, the prices have updated. So we don't do this weekly, but we have done it now one time for the rest of the season. This is a price update based on NQS. So
you're saying I have to remember to do my lineup before Friday at 2:15 p.m. Pacific time.
You literally have to.
I literally have to.
If you don't redo your lineups, you will get no scores. You have to log in and redo your lineup.
And I like how you're saying that to the people, but you're really saying that to yourself. There was a force that was like, note to, everybody. Not to self.
I have to remind myself to do this, even though the lineups lock Friday, February 28th at 2:15 Pacific time. I need to put this on my calendar for like Tuesdays. Do your lineup on Tuesday.
So then when you forget on Tuesday, you can do it on Wednesday to Thursday.
Yes, exactly. That's how long it will take me to remember to do it. Like most things, 2 days. Also, you can check out the league at gymcastic.com. And it's very fun. People love it. And we have a fantasy podcast now that's in the podcast feed or YouTube every week. But we give you updates on things. I want to get some Le Poops news out of the way.
Okay. That's what it's called.
First, there was an injury apocalypse across the gymnastics world.
Really?
This week. It was not cute. We had first starting off at the Florida meet on Florida at Oklahoma. We had Anya Pilgrim hang off the bar, lay on the ground for a while, finish her routine, but then disappeared for the rest of the meet. And then Sloane Blakely, looks like she tore her Achilles. And we gave her the award for the fuck this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, fastest get out of here after an injury. Yeah.
Picked herself up, pointed her foot, picked herself up, and hopped one-footed right out of the arena, which is not advisable if you have like a broken something, but I think she probably knew what it was and was like, it's a ligament. I'm leaving. She did come back. Charlotte Booth, who is a U.S. gymnast who lives in Florida, who's committed to Auburn, competed for the British. She's a British alternate, great on bars and beam. She competed
alternate for the Olympics, yeah.
For the Olympics.
Not just alternate for Britain.
No.
I would love to be a British alternate.
I know, take us, you guys.
Can I be on the wait list for Great Britain?
There's a new visa, actually, that I think we would qualify for. Anyway, we love her gymnastics, so gorgeous. And she looks like she also looked like she tore her Achilles on floor this weekend in Cottbus. Also, Cal had an injury on beam. There's an exhibition routine, and
Brianna Torek, yeah.
Missed her foot, fell really awkwardly on her series, a dislocation. It was a 25-minute delay to the meet, fully splinted and taken out, and the team rallied and came back on floor, which is amazing. But the really cool thing about that meet, that was the bummer thing about that meet. The cool thing about that meet is, like so many great programs we've talked about, Cal is not acquiescing in advance, and they had their pride meet, and they had a prominent display of a pride flag that said all are welcome on it. And they had this meet with Pitt, who we've talked about before, doing great pride stuff. So people felt really grateful and welcome and appreciated that meet. And Evan Heider, of course, commentated on that meet and had a great line about this meet, is telling everyone who has felt othered that they are welcome here and this is a safe space for them. So bringing it home with the othered takes everything into account, which I always appreciate about Evan, in addition to his mustache. Let's talk about people are so thirsty for mustaches.
Mush. Thirsty for mush.
How do you feel about mustaches, Spencer?
I don't know.
You're neutral on mustaches.
Neutral mus.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things if you're from a generation where like all the parents you grew up around had mustaches, then you're like, ew. Yeah, so I'm like, yuck on mustaches. I do not care.
We'll be sure to tell Evan.
But Evan, of course, looks very handsome in there. As if he's living in a mustache.
I'm going to text the group chat right now to say, Jessica thinks you look gross.
I think he looks very handsome. I'm saying for a face smushing scenario, they're not for me when there's a face smushing. Romantic situation, but like just looking at a person, I'm fine with that. And no one cares what I think about their mustache, but I'm just telling you guys look very handsome. Just don't touch me with that thing. That's all I mean about it. Okay, Winter Cup. Now, can we please talk about the gymnastics and not mustaches? Oh, okay. Yeah, too long didn't read is Coop fact checker is not allowed to grow a mustache ever. Yeah, that's all you need to know. Okay, Winter Cup, Spencer.
All right. So Winter Cup happened. End of recap. That's what happened. Okay, so it was
February.
Winter Cup. It was not a great meet. We don't have to pretend like it was. But also, it's not like the sky is falling without the Olympians, because it's February in the first year of a new quad, and like this is kind of what it looks like. But yeah, I mean, no one was ready. Obviously, it was funny. I did read Tiana Suminasegro withdrew, and her statement was kind of like, yeah, I'm not ready to compete yet, which is good. Take care of yourself. This is just Winter Cup. But it did make me laugh because I was like, no one's ready to compete. If everyone who wasn't ready to compete withdrew, this meet would have been over in 11 minutes. It would just be Ashley Sullivan hitting routines, and then the meet's over. I did like the intro from the PA announcer who always does these meets that was like, all the top women's gymnasts in the country are here. And I was like, they aren't.
But everybody else is here. Who's not competing in college or on their honeymoon.
And then I love that Hesley has already sailed right into the position of, it's like Kyla 2013 or Bridget Sloan 2009, where you're like the infant of the team during the Olympics, and then you're the one who keeps going. So now you're like the headliner of the program. She was like, okay, I'm going to sail in there. I'm going to do one event. I'm going to fall. I'm going to peace out, and I'm going to get the loudest round of applause of anyone there. I understand what we're doing here. Yeah. I don't have to carry. I have an Olympic gold medal. I do not have to worry about proving myself at Winter Cup. Call me when there is a world's team being decided. Call me when there's a national championship on the line. This is small beans.
Speaking of people that aren't there, so Simone is on her honeymoon right now, or whenever. Like, who knows if she's posting these things in real time, because
how many honeymoons has she been on?
She didn't get a real honeymoon before. They went away for like a weekend, which is count. But it's never, but if you don't do it right after your wedding, it's not a real honeymoon anyway. But I know you guys that have skipped and waited till later, you can back me up on this.
I mean, isn't it all justification?
I mean, no, because you're so no,
the stress of the wedding is over.
Yes,
so you get kind of release.
Yes, I thought it would be. And then, because obviously absolutely nothing changed in our relationship or how we deal with money or family or anything from the time we were together for 10 years and got married. But I realized the way other people treat you changes. Some people, not everybody. But it's also super stressful. I was like, this is nothing. It's like throwing a party. But, I don't like to throw parties. So it was stressful.
Throwing a party is very stressful.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, I wanted to mention this because my favorite nature channel is Simone's Instagram. Oh, my God. It is like lions and tigers and all the things. And they're right. She is just like hanging out with a giant elephant. Like, I'm blown away. This is like the greatest. This is like the trip of a lifetime that she is doing right now. So hats off to you. for what looks like an amazing, amazing honeymoon. Okay, anyway, back to Simona's.
And congratulations on not having to be at Winter Cup.
Not having to do gymnastics, drinking, and being on a safari. Okay, so Ashley Sullivan won.
Yes, Ashley Sullivan showed up ready to compete and stay on all the apparatuses to win the all-around title. Which is kind of what we came to expect from her before she has had like some injury years. It was kind of like, she's going to show up, she's going to hit her routines. I think the only surprise about this performance was that we didn't have Bev Plocky waiting in the wings with one of those big vaudeville canes to be like, want to come to Michigan early? Because we could really use someone with difficulty who could stay on all 4 apparatuses right about now.
Please, now.
You should come a year early, Ashley. So that was kind of an upset. The Bev wasn't there. But other than that, it was like, yes, this is what we expect from Ashley Sullivan. She's going to be prepared. And I think, this year is so up in the air in terms of, it's kind of exciting to look forward to Worlds, even though so much still has to be determined. Nothing's happened yet, because who's going to be going for it? Who's going to be in form? Who's going to be hitting? Who's going to be like try to come back at the last second and not have enough time? Like, it's really, the entire scenario is up in the air. So putting in, even the Winter Cup doesn't like help you do anything unless you need your score for championships. But putting up a solid performance is like, yeah, I mean, consistent, solid hitting and confident routines is very convincing in a year like this.
Yep. And we'll have an all-new world champion for the first time in 10 years because Morgie Boo is retired. Simone's not competing.
What if Morgan just came back and was like, I'm going to go to Worlds?
Do it, Morgan. Do it, please.
She's like, I could be a photographer and go to Worlds, right?
Yeah, she can do anything she wants to. And then also, but you never know. Like, as far as we know, Russia's not allowed back to compete this year, but the way the world's going, who knows what will happen, and maybe we will have Melnikova back at Worlds. Shout out to any of the employees that work at HUD in DC. We saw your work. I'll put a link in the show notes to it, and that was hilarious, and we love the resistance. Thank you guys so much. Yes, all the federal employees, we see you. We thank you. I wanted to mention one more thing about Ashley Sullivan is I've always talked about her because of her incredible power and how she's still doing her full twisting double layout, which I love to see. It's not, at final end of the season, like form yet, but, I've always enjoyed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jessica likes a jock.
I do.
You always have. Someone who could like transition to a boxing career and you'd be like, that tracks.
Yes, exactly. This is my favorite kind of gymnast. Could punch you in the face and you'd like it. That's Speaking of which, Jayla Hang, another one of my favorites.
Silver medal with a fall on beam. So hit meet would have been first.
Yep. When she hits all of her beam routines, everybody's in trouble. And I feel like I've been saying this for a while.
You've been saying that for a few years, yeah.
I have. But you know who used to fall all the time, every single championships? Jordan Childs. And look at Jordan Childs now. So everyone can. And you know who else used to fall all the time? Alicia Sacramento. And then she made an Olympic team. And anyway, so yeah, don't beam falls. And you know who else fell the Olympics and still won?
Jessica's going to list everyone who's ever fallen on a routine.
You can fall and still win if you have a huge D, as the Simone Biles story. So yeah, Jayla Hang, still love it, obsessed with her gymnastics.
Bronze medal, same gym, Simone Rose, also who was one of those athletes last year during the Olympic trials process who I think really took advantage of the situation of people being injured, other people falling, and just being like, I have no expectations that I'm going to make an Olympic team, but I'm going to zoom through this process and impress a lot of people, which she did. And now, also, hello, double layout fall off bars.
Yes.
You see that?
She is like building up this difficulty and just adding it in every time she has something new. And you guys remember Simone Rose because she always does her like blue. She has like a different color, really bright, and like the bottom of her hair. So she has a ponytail. You see like a stripe, not a stripe. It's like a cascade of a different color. Cascade, perfect for people that live near Seattle because they have the Cascade Mountains. Do you see how I did that there? Also,
great, yeah.
The Medusa floor routine. The I'm Medusa I'm looking at you off with their heads floor. So that's how you remember Simone Rose. If you didn't already, I mean, everybody knows Simone Rose by this time, but I expect these three to still be in the top. But I also expect maybe Jade to just come back and be like, boop, put me on the team for Worlds. But also, like, yeah, it's good for them. I hope they're competing a ton. And, you know, the U.S. is trying to send Americans to a lot more World Cups. So hopefully they'll get all those experiences, because the last experience they had was going to that meet. What was it? The Junior Worlds in wherever that was, where the vault was messed up and everyone just slid on the top of the vault.
Fun.
That was a great meet. Okay. What are your important thoughts?
Club Gym Nerd. Get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, and extra podcast every week, athlete dossiers, code guides, commission your own segments of the show. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at GymCastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
Okay, I had many thoughts while watching Winter Cup. The first was one of the very first things that happened at this meet is Dilsey Kaler goes up on beam, does a switch half that's really short and falls. And I was just like, oh, my first thought is, where's Cecile? We were all like, oh, wait, huh? Wait, what? Oh, yeah, she's at Georgia. So I had a where is Cecile thought. Okay, I'm also going to say something shocking right now. Did the U.S. Women's Elite Program get a memo? Because I feel like this weekend, every year, our general theme is like, okay, we watched Winter Cup and Cottbus, and here's what everyone internationally is doing at Cottbus because they read the rules and the feedback and the help desks, and here's what the U.S. gymnasts aren't doing because they're resting on their laurels and are just going to win team gold anyway. But I feel like we had kind of an upset this year because I thought the U.S. gymnasts did an overall fairly good job of getting the side choreography memo on beam. Which basically the deal is like you have to do side choreography on beam, and we're not, and this is not brand new.
You're right.
But it's newish. We're not going to accept like turning to the side and waving your arm and doing like a little ostrich plie.
You must break the plane
to the normal direction, cross position. You have to actually move. Like you have to work in several planes and you have to move along the beam. You can't just turn to the side and pose. And I felt like also in that first rotation, we saw like Dilsey Kaler and Zoey Molomo going back to back, and both had like actual side choreography that had an intent and was like planned and worked on.
Yes.
Which is basically what the idea is. You have to have something that you have to practice.
Yes.
You can't just turn to the side and be like, hi.
I did it. Do you see the side of me? Okay. Fulfilled. You know,
one of the judges saw my butt. And so I did the requirement.
Like men doing their scales on floor. You guys. Oh
my God. Yeah.
The men's scales were okay. There were like 3 good, very nicely done scales on the men's side. Hats off to you guys. We saw you. Chef's kiss. There were some other scales that were exactly what me and Reese were talking about last week, where Reese was like, yeah, the people that don't look like they give a shit. Yeah, that should be a deduction. I mean, this is literally in like the level 4, like floor for men. They should have been doing this since they were in the grade schools. How did they graduate to elite without being able to do a scale? I'm horrified. I mean, you just hold yourself.
You would like some sort of test to be able to be an elite, almost like.
Yeah, like you can point your toes and do a, and then they're not even the heart. You don't even need to do a split. You just need to hold yourself like a T. That's it. Like, yeah, they're horrifying. Yeah, but shout out to the guys that actually did them with nice posture and made them beautiful like it's supposed to be. Just look like you care. That's really all we're asking for on floor. So thank you, gentlemen, who did the right thing.
And I want to know your thoughts on this too, because we can have a couple. Best individual skill. We didn't see a lot of hits at Winter Cup, but like best individual skill you saw. I'm going to put forward Kelise Woolford's Jaeger on bars. It's so high. It's really, really good. It's a really good one. And I was like, all right, that's why we're here. Winter Cup, I'll allow you to exist. I'll allow you to continue Kelise Woolford's Jaeger. That's very good.
I want to say I mean, I love watching every single thing that Zoey Molomo does. I could just watch her do like basics. Like her gymnastics is so pretty. I'm gonna say you're okay. The one I want to say actually is Vivi Crain from Gage.
Oh, we're moving to the junior category. I guess I'll allow this.
There's the Crain sisters.
Breach of etiquette.
And I'm sorry, but here's the thing. So the Crain, the younger Crain, are they both juniors? Did a double turn in back. What is this? When it's like a ring, but you grab your back foot like an ice skater. There's a word for this in the figure skating.
Is it do we call this a scorpion turn?
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, scorpion. Double scorpion turn. It had, a little deduction. Her bottom leg was a little bit
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't care because it's so cool to see, and I love seeing this kind of creativity. And there's so many beautiful turns that are done in rhythmic like this that we don't get to see enough of, that we could have in the code for women, like especially changing levels in a turn, and that just are not in the women's or men's code in artistic, but rhythmic has them, and I would like that to change. The only thing about this turn that ruined it for me was Gage reviving the colonial flutes marching into the Revolutionary War floor music for her routine. You know that?
Well, don't worry. She'll only have it for 9 years.
Oh, you guys. I was like, please, she's so good. Give her something else. Anywho, that was my favorite skill for creativity.
What was it? The story Tasha Schweikert told in 2000 about them forcing her to have new floor music, and they got like a cassette tape out of a closet or something that she said, and we're just like, this is your music now. And she was like, ugh. It feels very, sometimes, you watch routines and you're like, this is very cassette tape out of a closet for Tasha.
Yeah, if they're blowing dust off of it, that's not good. If it's a record and they're blowing dust off, then there's a chance.
I mean, maybe.
But
if it's a live piano, then
we accept.
Stuff, then it's okay.
Live piano is always great.
And I mean like in-person piano, not a living piano, like been brought to life by a spell or something. But that's what Jessica would want. I'm sure that's like, if I ask you what your idea for an ideal college gymnastics meet is, you'd be like, okay, well, first of all, you bring in the witch, and she turns the piano to life with a spell, and then the piano's galloping around the floor while playing Mozart, and you have to do a routine to that.
Yeah, I was hoping for that at Cottbus, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but they literally just had, instead of ferns by the edges of the floor, they had just like stalks of corn stalks or something. Just like, I felt like, oh, they're going to set those on fire at the end, and there's going to be like some kind of ritual. They were just two large corn stalks, like wrapped together in a sort of erect, like, gate sort of thing, but they weren't close enough together to be a gate. Anyway, it was very.
So it was like, we need to have foliage, but we're not going to have like those stupid ferns that get in the way of everyone's view.
Right, but you could see them from from far away because they were very large stalks of corn husk material, but also very like there's going to be some kind of ritual of burning, which is, my favorite thing for gymnastics meet, which brings me to, because you could see these very well from vault, Dovtian's vaults, which were spectacular as usual, and he stuck. And I was distracted. I was kind of annoyed with these corn stalks because I was distracted by them.
Because then you were paying attention to the corn.
Right, which was, but anyway, event champions, let us discuss.
Yeah, okay. One vault champion was Bryn Torres, Yurchenko double full, which I think was appropriate. I thought that it was a very nice Yurchenko double full. I think the nicest one we saw. 2 vault champion was Zoey Molomo. And I will say, she has very good options for vault, but this handspring pike half second vault, the first thing I thought was, oh, that's her UCLA vault. That's put that one in the lineup. It's so high, and I'm like a little bit of NCAAing that, where you've got the routine, but you refine it and you NCAA things, like a little bit of time NCAAing that, and that's going to be an incredible score because she has the amplitude. She has everything you need to make that really good. So I was like, oh, this is like foreshadowing meet. Write some notes to Janelle and be like, it's the handspring pike half. Do that one.
Do that one.
Don't think about anything else. Just handspring pike half.
Flare it a little bit. She can see the landing. She will stick it every time. This is the one. Yes. I agree.
Also, 9 people did 2 vaults at this meet.
Right, that's what I was gonna say, because I looked at the men. There was only like 3 or 4 men that did 2 vaults, but the women, I was like, look at this list. Remember the days when we were like, why aren't more people doing? And we had a whole thing, and we're like, why aren't they doing it? And we looked into what is the national team staff doing to incentivize this, and blah blah blah. And it's finally happening. Like we got we have some actual choreography being understood and used, and we have some some and lots of double vaults happening, which is really great. And I think maybe it's a lot of coaches understanding there's an opportunity here for them to get into finals now, because
get on a world team.
Yeah, get on a world team and make a final, because
because there's been a glut of vaulters, like when you had Simone and Jade and Jordan Childs, and before that, before Michaela Skinner, and you had you weren't going to get, there was no room for you to get in as a vaulter, but you look to selecting a team for an individual worlds, and a year where, Simone's not going to be there. We don't know who all is going to be there, but a lot of the high difficulty vaulters probably aren't going to be vaulting at worlds this year. It becomes a situation where if you have a Yurchenko double full and a Lopez, you can make the vault final at worlds probably. And so I'm looking at Jayla Hang, who did a very good Yurchenko double full and round off half on pike half, and I'm like, okay, either she if that's a progress point, you maybe lay that out for. I mean, ideally for a Chung, but that's a lot. That's a big step. So I'm not just going to be like, "Where's your Chung already, Jayla?" TikTok. But start laying it out. That's a competitive pair of vaults that could be you don't have to necessarily rely on being a top 2 all arounder, because that's going to be tough.
And we know, talking about Jayla and Simone, Jayla has an Ominar, that she does in the gym on a mat. There's a lot of skills they have, which you want to do. When you listen to the athletes who have competed these things successfully, they're like, oh yeah, I've been doing that since I was 12, or I did that, for 2 years consistently until I ever competed it. That's the kind of confidence you want to have and not risk any kind of injury with it too. And I do wonder if the understanding the opportunity with having 2 vaults plus the getting more of the memo with artistry has to do with either these coaches that mostly are from a different generation get it more and are like, yeah, this is what we have to build on, or it has to do with the national team staff changing, because we have Biddy Okino now part of the Trident, and we have Dan Baker is the floor coach. Not Dan Baker, sorry. Jade Carey's dad, Brian Carey, who's Dan Baker's gone. Brian Carey is now there, who is a strategic genius who reads the rules.
He understood the individual qualification pathway to the Tokyo Olympics.
Yes, he reads the rules and understands them, which is everyone should always listen to whatever he says. And then we have we talked about a lot of this on Behind the Scenes on Friday, or College and Cocktails on Friday. But also we have Tatiana Perskaya, thank you, who was a brevet category 1 for the US for years and years and years and years, Soviet gymnast. And was she Soviet? It was Soviet, right? Perskaya. I think she was. But one of the, the countries that won everything and knew what they were doing back in the day. And she has transitioned more out
She's been on selection committees before for years.
Yeah. She's one of the ones that knows exactly what to do. And now she's coaching Beam. And so I'm really very hopeful and that we won't have to scream about why aren't you paying attention to doing the right thing anymore, because there's some new blood in the mix here.
I mean, I wouldn't say Tatiana Perskaya is new blood for the U.S. program, because she's been there for decades in the U.S. program, but she hasn't been in this position.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's one thing to be you're going to be in the selection committee and you're judging, where the new system and the new generation of athletes are more comfortable going straight up to the judges, like we've talked about, like Leanne Wong has done, to just be like, yeah, so what do I need to do? And having a conversation and making it more open. So that I think she will have more opportunity to give feedback, perhaps, than she had in the past.
I will say the one thing we didn't see here, we have a lot of people who have already been elites doing 2 vaults. We didn't see, or haven't yet seen, that developmental pipeline where you have a Jade Carey or a Kayla Williams who was told, like, doing level 10, and someone came to them and was like, so you need to do elite because you could be literally a world champion on vault because you're really good at it. Come do vault at classic and we'll see how it goes. Like, we don't have that, which is kind of what you want in terms of a developmental pipeline where you have a talent identification situation.
Yes.
Where you're like, okay, you're really good at this. Let's have you come up for this one event that try elite if you want to for this one event that you're really good at, because that's individual worlds and that's how you make teams, or should, because it's not about the all around standings and things like
that. Which we do have with TOPS is the talent identification system, but I just want to, just in case, anticipate the letters. So people that exists.
It's just
but we're talking about like literally people watching the Nastia Cup and the judges and the selection committee people, the Trident, watching that meet and being like, should we ask her to come to National Steam Camp because she could definitely win bars or not bars, but
and sometimes they don't want to. Sometimes they're Alex McMurtry and are like, what if I just were a level 10 and then went and got a bunch of 10s at Florida?
Jenny Hansen, like, no, I don't know, it's not for me. I'm gonna ride my horse. That's my favorite thing about Jenny Hansen. Oh, I'd rather ride my horse. I don't want to go to camp. I'll just go win 3 times in a row in college. Okay, where were we?
We talked about vault. We have some thoughts. We're going to keep watching. Verdict, we're going to keep watching the 2 vault situation and see where we're going. Bars, Alicia Joe won bars. I was very pleased to see that she won bars. Just a super smooth, clean routine. It's never been the kind of routine where she's really trying to maximize the like connection to connection to connection to connection, but everything she does is exactly how you want it to look, in a very like, I can't wait until you're doing Stanford bars routines kind of way. And like, Tabitha's watching that, like she got the plate set, got the table set with a knife and a fork, like, yes. yes, Alicia Joe, yes to these bars.
Stanford just looks so good. I can't wait till I want more end of season, more judges all together so that we have these teams seen more fairly compared against each other, because
it's almost like we should have less of regular season, fewer regular season meets because half of them don't even count, and more elimination postseason meets.
Yes, almost like building up excitement is a thing people like in sports, which gymnastics is a sport.
What?
Contrary to how college gymnastics judging is
treating
monitored.
itself.
Yeah, it actually is. Beam.
We had a tie. Clare Pease and Tatum Drush won. Very nice to watch. Clare Pease was definitely in contention, I think, to win this competition. She had some falls, the point out of bounds on floor that we talked about. Beam was the one that I think was really there. No surprise. I think it's her best event. And she's like, it's such a classic Woga beam. Like, she has the Woga Noti in it, which is, the joke for many years. Like, every single Woga gymnast has a Noti in their routine, whether they should be doing one or not. She should be doing one, and it's a really nice one. And, she's doing like exactly Woga beam, and she's the exact right gymnast to be doing it. And so that was one of the other highlight routines for me. And okay, is Anna Lukin her birth mother? This is my other question. They look so similar.
They look so similar. Like, Nastia as a child and Clare Pease as a child look so alike. And Clare Pease looks so, yeah.
That's my other thought.
Do we need a DNA test?
That's my other Winter Cup thoughts.
Did she secretly donate an egg at some point? And Clare Pease is the result. Should we talk about floor, the most important one, where Nola Matthews won? The one we're telling you guys
apparently
forever.
We should talk about floor.
Finally, I don't know why we didn't start with this. Nola, once again, delivers, understands the code. Her coaches and choreographers at Airborne understand the code. They pride themselves on artistry. You can see why she should literally just carry a stick that says, you don't have to do hard tumbling to win floor. You don't have to have the biggest D. I would like her to carry a stick or maybe a ribbon, because that's more of the artistic lesson, to beat people over the head with it during or before or after her floor routines. That is just like, do you see how this pathway has already been laid out? And did you see what happened at the Paris Olympics? You
like,
maximize.
I have embraced my Dutch gymnastics heritage that I don't think she has, but she also has, just when you're watching her, of like my ancestors, the Dutch gymnastics program, and I learned from them, and I do that.
Yeah. And this is how it's supposed to be done. You dance and artistry maximized then, and she had a beautiful
and you're like,
well.
Do we know what the theme of this year's floor routine is? I mean, it's sort of always like haunted ghoul marionette.
Yes, this one is more. I feel like I got a more haunted doll this time from this routine, but it's less. It was last year's theme as created by me, myself personally, and not by Nola or her choreographer at all.
Mm-hmm.
Was the last two routines were emo kids sitting in the rain, smoking in the 80s on a roof overlooking, the apocalypse. But now,
not autobiographical. Just
no.
What came to mind.
My God. But yeah, maybe now it's like an AI robot haunted, like the Megan doll movie, and is coming for all of your data. Yeah.
What's the next step? Like when she goes to UCLA and has a BJ Doss routine, like what's the next thematic step?
Oh, a full orchestra for her floor routine. That's the next step. I don't mean like a four quintet set of, string instruments is called. No, I mean the LA harmonic comes to, they have to have a whole section set aside for them. So yeah,
I feel like we need to have some kind of a ceremony where like Brooklyn Moores bestows some sort of like haunted mask to Nola, be like, this belongs to you now.
Yes.
I bequeath, like Georgia gymnasts bequeathing that moonwalk on beam. They like UCLA gymnasts need to like pass along the torch of like a scream mask or something. Like Paulina Trotz gave it to Brooklyn Moores, who gives it to Nola Matthews.
Yes.
You scream in this.
I would like to see her expand from creepy, like, and more like a smooth movement routine instead of like a hit the angles routine. Although BJ's very good at that, but I think she could do something, but I would like to see
more
her do
serpentine.
Serpentine, exactly. And also I'd like to see her go back to the, because the 80s are back, with fascism and nuclear war. It's all back in fashion now. So I would like to see her do some kind of like real emo, like To the Cure or something like that. Something that's popular at the time. U2, something like that. No singing, obviously. Come on, please.
Well,
we're not figure skating. But yeah. Anything else from Winter Cup?
I mean, probably, but I feel like we got it. Everyone fell, but we, have fun watching gymnastics. That's that's the summary of Winter Cup.
And it's February, and everybody's trying new vaults, which is great. Like, this is great progress point.
And that is a progress point.
Progress, yes. Let's talk about some of the Gymternet news. And what I want to start with in the Gymternet news is talking about the Inside Oklahoma Gymnastics SEC mini documentary. And okay, so my favorite part from this, I'm going to play this quote from it, and I want to know what you think of it.
Long push. Good, that was better. We can say that's better, but better is still a deduction, right? And better is less than you're capable of.
Put that on an Oklahoma Gymnastics shirt. That is the summary of that program philosophy right there.
Yes. I was like, this is how you have people who coach you to your best. They are factual while being positive. Like, you're capable of more, right? I believe in you. You believe in you. Yeah, let's do it. I love that.
It is very interesting to me how many college gymnastics coaches across programs and levels talk about how much of their job is convincing the gymnasts of how talented they are and how much they're capable of that they don't necessarily believe they're capable of. And that's kind of sometimes an indictment of club gymnastics, where it's like your confidence is shot when you're coming in here. But it is interesting that's such a common refrain of like, I had to teach you how talented you are.
And I think it's like, it is, I agree, an indictment of some clubs. And it's also
obviously, I know everyone assumes everything's about them. It's like, I'm making fun of
not you. We're not saying, but it's also an indictment of being a female human in the United States, growing up in the United States. That is it. You are told through every source of media your entire life and through cultural osmosis that you are less than, not good enough. And I know it's not just women that feel like this, but I am speaking from my personal experience and all of my friends that you're told in every way you're wrong. You're sold things constantly that tell you you're wrong. Like, what is the whole point of makeup? You know, it's like, you should look better than that. Your actual skin is not good enough. So yeah, that's one of the great things we get to see as people grow into having confidence. So yeah, I just love that part. And I also wondered if there's anybody, if you're under 30 and you're listening to the show, how did that make you feel hearing Tom, that's Tom. Yeah, say that. The tall gum chewer, not the shorter gum chewer. That's Lou. There was not the only person aggressively chewing gum was KJ in this.
Whoa.
I was shocked. Yeah. And in practice, like, it was a lot more like the gentlemen coaches were just so much less intense than they are during the meets in the segments that they showed anyway. But I just want to know, did that seem like a reasonable thing? Were you like, oh my God, that's way too straightforward, I wouldn't respond to being talked to like that? Or were you like, oh yeah, I get it. This is how times that I've made myself better, I've heard someone has had to like say that to me. That's what I would interested to know. I love that we got a tour of the new gym that's being built. So it has walls and a roof and all of that stuff, but the interiors are being done now. And so KJ gave a tour of the interiors and she said, they want to make it feel like a spa. It's very like trendy and, it's for the youngsters. They're going to really like it. And it's going to have a serenity garden with a fire pit and outdoor kitchen. And then she was talking about going into the locker room. A fire pit.
Whoa.
Yes. So you can just hang out.
So when you lose to LSU, you can burn the Leos as in a ritual?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they did right after that part. But my favorite part that you're going to love is she was walking through one part and she's like, yeah, it's going to be so beautiful in here. We're going to have chandeliers. And I was like, yes, elevating the space.
So are we learning that KJ loves chandeliers? Because I feel like there's always kind of chandelier visual themes in their like photo shoots and leotards. There's always like kind of a whiff of chandelier.
Yes. They've literally had their like team theme photos one year where like the team with a chandelier on the ground. And I was like, oh, that's so on point. But I also love that like there should be like, this is theater. Artistic gymnastics is theater. And so you should feel like you are in a place where you are appreciated, but also you get the idea of like, this is an elevated space. This is not
we're in the lobby of the opera right now.
Right.
And you're about to walk in.
Exactly. This is you feel like you should stand up taller and, sing from your diaphragm when you walk into the space. So I knew you would love that. The other thing that I know you would love is when KJ talked about, she talked about how one of their themes this year is synergetic occurrences.
This is why KJ would also thrive in a corporate environment, because you have to say nonsense like synergetic occurrences.
And then I was just like, oh, this is when you've been coaching for like 30 years, is you're like, I will come up with any metaphor, 1,000 different metaphors for you guys to anything that works. Then she talked about, hurricanes or thunderstorms or something and how they form. And it's like, the hot air rising from the cold and all of this and how long it takes. And she was like, yeah, so it's been like 3 days now. So we should be really forming the storm for the meet this weekend. And I was like, yes, this is coaching right here. The other thing that I really enjoyed is their little cheer before they started practice. So they all have their huddle, and their cheer is 3 words: train, compete, win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is what you are here to do.
This is what you're here for. Yes. That is. Now you understand the assignment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of this puttering about nonsense. No beating around the bush. Train, compete, win.
Right. We're being honest here. This is the job. Train, compete, win. That's what we're here for. We're not here for butterflies and hanging out in the library and making yourself a better person.
We are here for hanging out in the Serenity Garden.
The Serenity Garden with the fire pit. I'm very excited about this. I was hoping we would get way more info on their rehab facilities and their recovery and all of that stuff. I know, they're totally secrets. All we got was the biggest non-secret that's been around for 100 years is the contrast tub. So hot tub, cold, hot, cold. And I was like, oh God, they gave us something, but it was like, yeah, we're still using this, which is not it's not a good thing to use. I was just hoping to see
you
lasers,
more cutting edge, state of the art. Yeah.
Yes, lasers, floating tubs, like an actual salt sea that they just float the gymnasts in after the massage so they can relax. And yeah, they are going to have a full kitchen and nutrition station in the gym, which is also really good because the amount of programs that don't hand their athletes a protein shake after
the amount of programs that don't hand feed their athletes like a mama bird.
Yes. I'm like, okay, you're stretching, drink your protein and whatever else stuff right now, as soon as you're done with practice for recovery. This is the kind of stuff I think they do, but they're not showing. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I mean, I fast forwarded through some of the gymnastic stuff because I was like, I watched this meet. I don't need to see this stuff.
Need a teaser for behind the scenes when Jessica talks about shows she likes. I loved it. I fast forwarded through 3/4 of it, but I loved it.
I fast forward through all the birth scenes, but other than that, but I watched that meet already. I watched the drills. I liked seeing their drills. I love seeing drills. But yeah, some other Gym Turnet news we have. The podium at Elite Canada was all Black gymnasts. It was very exciting. I was very pleased to see that. And I'm really liking the gymnastics there. A lot of potential and excitement for me about Canada. Ethora is competing at Gymnix, another Canadian meet. I'm like, oh, that's a good get. Ethora. If we had an unlimited budget, I would fly to Gymnix just to watch Ethora. Fact checker accidentally posted the entire unedited podcast last week. So just want to give him a shout out for joining the club.
This is the Gym Turnet news?
This is the Gym Turnet news of when fact checker is overly tired and doing too much and makes a mistake. These things happen. It's not just me. So anyway, everybody that got hit to hear the unedited version, now this is what you get in behind the scenes every week if you join for Club Gym Nerd for College and Cocktails. It's like that the whole time. Sad news, Jennifer Gadarova tore another ACL. So she said she was at
she's had quite a road.
Has torn her second ACL. So this is not Jess Gadarova, the floor world champion who tore her ACL right before Paris. This is her twin sister. This is her sister. Jennifer Gadarova.
The lesson is don't name your daughters names that are too close to each other because it's going to be a problem for Jessica, even if one of them is named the same as her.
There's so many kinds of twins. Did you know this? There's the 2-egg twins.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the 1-egg splits twins. And then there's 1 egg. 1 egg doesn't split until later in the pregnancy. So they literally are the same half of each other. So one has the left and right, if you put them together, are identical. I didn't know. I just learned about this kind of twin. Anyway.
Wow.
So back to ACLs. Missing one is Jennifer. that's what happened, which sucks. And she talked about how she was doing something really basic. She felt ready to compete at the Croatian World Cup, and she had paid a lot of attention to, her sister Jessica's recovery, and it's one of those things. So that's a super bummer. But she said this does not change her plan of coming back for LA 28. So, and I mean, I feel like Andrade has given everyone hope. She's like, ACLs, who needs them?
ACL a few times. You could tear more than you have.
Yeah, you
can start tearing other people's ACLs so you can come back.
Exactly. We also got really surprising news this week, which is that the head coach at Fisk resigned this week. No, we don't have any other information than that. She didn't give a reason, just appreciated her time in the program and resigned. It is unusual for this to happen. There's another head coach, the Cal men's coach, also resigned midseason, but he did it to take a job in administration, which, is probably very smart considering what's coming with the House settlement in men's gymnastics. But yeah, we don't have any other information than that, but she has resigned her position. Also, Laurent Landy, who has left WCC where he was coaching Simone and others, and is now started his own consulting company, was recently in Mexico for one of their training camps. And Mexico has brought a lot, and PAGU, the Pan American Gymnastics Union, has brought a lot of great coaches into all of their camps. And Mexico is good. Mexico has really great gymnasts. They are totally on the rise. And I'm like, oh, they're bringing in Amy, they're bringing in Laurent, they're bringing in all these coaches. Like, they are motivated. It's basically a home Olympics for Mexico, the LA 28. So they are going to be ready. So I'm excited about seeing all the different coaches that they're bringing in and what they're going to do. Cottbus.
Let's go.
Cottbus,
the World Cup series alive and well.
And what did you think, first of all, about the staging, the fanfare of the meet? We already talked about the
plants.
Corn stalks.
The most important stuff. We have to talk about the plants. Now we have to talk about the music, because Germany, we need to have a talk. You're using the Fox NFL theme song for your award ceremonies, Germany. Pull it together, Germany. This is not what we discussed. This is not appropriate behavior. I don't care for it.
They do love American football in Germany.
Well, stop it.
It's a shame. Yes.
You need to stop it, Germany.
The whole point of gymnastics is not to be football.
Really?
That's
what
right.
are we doing here?
Yeah,
it was traumatizing to me, and I didn't care for it. Also, re-award ceremonies. We need to have a consideration of the gymnast committee. Citation to Reese's interview from last week, and talking about, not going out for intros and how he always has to be like, come on. Consideration of the gymnast committee. You cannot hand someone flowers and that little glass globe thing and then expect them to shake hands with you. They don't have 3 hands. Think it through. Consideration of the gymnast.
Shake, then hand. This is how it works.
And also, don't do flowers.
No?
No one wants that. What are you going to do with them? You just set them by backstage and then forget them.
You put them in your hotel room. Enjoy. You
then
walk around with them, and everyone knows they're important.
Front desk for a whole a vase or something, because they're not going to fit in those little glasses in your hotel room, because those are an ounce big. It's a whole thing.
Except I'm allergic to all flowers, but I like looking at them as long as they don't make me sneeze. So I like the flowers. What would you like instead? Chocolate? I mean, chocolate's okay.
But then you have to transport food in your luggage. How about nothing?
That's not going to make it back. That will be eaten immediately after the meet.
Immediately, yeah. How about double the prize money? That's what I do.
Oh, that is better. Yeah.
A bouquet full of cash.
Mm-hmm.
Would be nice.
Pocket full of diamonds. That is the perfect prize money. A flower bouquet of diamonds.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I always wonder what if Chuso just comes to these meets, or she actually gets a marketing budget allocated to her to come to these meets. Chuso.
All I know about Chuso coming to meets is that time we were on a train in Germany and she was on the same train as us. And I was like, Chuso deserves better than this janky train that we're on.
Yep.
Why does Chuso have to travel a loser like us.
And then there was someone that wanted to do an interview with her, and they couldn't get a hold of her, and so then I, as a favor to this other journalist, like tracked her down on the train and was like, "I'm so sorry to bother you. I know but this person is trying to get in touch with you, and they messaged you here for an interview for this Worlds or whatever." But yeah, that was when we got stuck they canceled our flight, and we had to take a train.
I know.
Stuttgart.
Poor Chuso had to be shoved into that train too.
I know.
Instead of carried in on a bed made of velvet.
Exactly. And it would have been a BMW made of velvet. Or what are all the cars they have? Anyway, Chuso Oksana Chusovitina, 49 years old, turns 50 this summer. And
we're going to need to do a summer tribute.
Yes. We can't do enough tributes to Chuso. Really.
Yeah, we'll have to do a 50th birthday party episode.
Yeah, I like that idea. We do have a whole episode about her, but we should do more. We should just do the second half. All the murals that are.
It's a retrospective on all the fluff pieces that have been made about how old she is. Yes. Starting like 30 years ago when they were like, can you believe that she's still competing?
Oh my God. And also all the wild commercials she's in, where it's like her in like putting makeup on in the fanciest hotel room with the fanciest gowns. And you're like, she's literally never worn makeup in her life or wore a gown like this unless someone else puts it on her. But okay. And then obviously we'll have to go back and talk about that time that she danced in cutoff shorts and at a meet and ran around and did all the events while cutoff shorts dancing. Anyway, Chuso, vault bronze.
Yes.
And please hold your applause for the next one. I'm going to pull your car over if you are traveling while I say the next thing. She won the E-Score Award for vault, everyone.
There we go, Chuso.
That's right.
There we go.
She is representing.
Her form did look, it's never been the strong suit.
Yeah.
It's never been her thing. But I was like, okay, Chuso.
Yeah.
She's not doing her most difficulty. Again, as we established, it's February. But that looked pretty good.
Yeah. I noticed that too, especially like her leg form and the trunk down was looking very good. And I was like, I didn't notice that. Peja Belak did win, but she got the Leanne Wong Award for most annoyed champion ever because she did not do her best. So she was like,
I did like that. When she got her score and she was like, ugh, stupid.
I'm disgusted, but I'll put this around my neck. Wait, this is what makes elite gymnast, constantly being disgusted because they know you can do better, right? Better is still a deduction, but it's not your best. What's that quote? I'm going to have to go back to that constantly. Yeah. Right?
Better is still a deduction is the theme of 2025.
And better is less than you're capable of.
Also, 10 points to the Germans in the crowd for reacting qualitatively to the scales that the men have to do in their floor routines and being very German about it and applauding the people who tried to do something and given nothing to the dumpy ones. They were like, nope. This is Germany. You don't get a courtesy clap. You get an honest reaction to what you have done.
Yes. Germans would be like, why would I lie to you? That's rude. I will tell you the truth with my clapping. That is, how does this help anyone in society if we lie? You must be honest and truthful and do not ever be late, God damn it. So this is why the trains are freaking on time in Germany. I was so excited to watch Noah Kwavata from Belgium, who you guys know, we've been talking about him for years because he does if there are however many flips you thought could be put into a dismount, he has tried more. That is Noah. He understands the assignment of entertainment. The gymnastics is entertainment, and you always look forward to watching him because he has good form, and he will add a flip or make it piked or laid out just to make it harder. So he had a giant casina. He fell, but then he got up and did, not on his casina, but then he did his triple pike dismount off high bar. Triple pike dismount. And stuck it, by the way. This is the other thing. He landed it. He knows how to land Japan style, Kohei style, where you just make yourself into a C shape and stay down as long as you have to until your spine recovers, and then you stand up and are like, thank you for my glory. You're welcome. Invite me to another
landing.
Yeah. So well
done. Also, important note, if you don't get your medal from a woman dressed like a medieval peasant at the Full Moon Festival, it's not a Gymnastics World Cup.
Everybody knows
if you're organizing a Gymnastics World Cup, you have to, like, part of the proposal, the submission for hosting it is like, how many women are there going to be at a moon festival? And you're like, 3. And they're like, okay, now you can host a World Cup.
I agree. I enjoyed those big giant skirts very much.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to complain about something, and I think you'll be on board.
Okay.
The problem of low expectations for boys compared to girls.
Oh!
We had an extreme showcase of this at the in-between events little entertainment performances that they did at this meet. So they had the girls come in, and they're doing the creepy, bendy, rhythmic water ghost contortion performance that was like horrifying because it's too bendy. It's like you go past flexibility to the point where like it's gross, but it was a routine. And they had like a world peace themed dance with hoops and all the flags. And then every time they were followed by the boys team coming out and jump roping in a circle and getting more applause. And I was like, no, the girls had to like plan a whole thing. There were costumes and rehearsals and themes and synchronization. And then the boys were like, here are some jump ropes. And we can't be having this. We can't be having these things presented as equal.
Exactly. Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's also such a metaphor for the state of the world.
Sure.
Let's have higher expectations for boys and men. Exactly what Spencer said. Indeed. So there is explain the vault bonus and what is happening.
I want to know what you think about this. So a new thing for this quad is the women's vault bonus for event finals, which is a 2/10 bonus if your 2 vaults have different directions in post flight. So for example, Chusovitina got the 2/10 bonus because she's doing a souk vault, which is a quarter turn, used to be a half turn onto the table, and then a back salto out of it, and a front handspring vault, which is a forward salto. So she had a back salto and a front salto. She gets the 2/10 bonus. Someone doing like a souk full and a Yurchenko full would not get the bonus because that's 2 back flipping saltos.
So the thing is that, like, when I first read this about this change, and I was like, wait, no one can twist on both sides. Like, it's being like right or lefty. Like you should be able to do basic gymnastics on both sides. Everyone learns it like that. If you didn't, you were taught wrong. And see, honesty, that's the kind of thing the Germans would tell you. You can't cartwheel on both sides. Well, they taught you wrong. We're going to start now. But then when I understood it's just like the flipping direction, then everyone can do that. And then that also makes it, I just think it's more realistic and it gives more variety. And it also possibly is more of a rest on your body, depending, either because you're not always landing backwards, or you can always do a front flip and twist as many times as you need to also land backwards. But I don't hate this, and I think mostly it's because it means there's going to be more variety. There's an incentivized variety. So if it was like literal twisting direction, I would be like, this is the stupidest thing ever. People are going to die. But I like incentivized variety. So
I think I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would, because my general sentiment would be like, all right, this is I have no problem with this as something you want to encourage, but either make it a requirement or don't. Like a 2/10 bonus, it's kind of like either just say like you have to flip in 2 different directions for a vault final, which I think is actually pretty reasonable. Just to say, like, if you want to qualify to the vault final, you have to have a forward salto and a backward salto in your 2 vaults. That's fine. But yeah, the little bonuses are kind of annoying to me. Like for dismounts on bars or something, like, oh, you can do like a flyaway or you can do like a real dismount and you get a little bonus for doing your real dismount. And it's like, well, either just say you have to or not. Make it a composition requirement or not. Make it a requirement or not. So the little bonuses kind of annoy me. But yes, I in general like the idea that you have to do like a forward salto and a backward salto. Yeah. Show a breadth of ability.
Show mastery of the event, which means you should be able to do both kinds of vaults. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah. Just a plain rule. Were there any moments of opportunities for comedy? Because there never is in gymnastics.
11th D1000. I really enjoyed the introductions for the men's rings final. So Courtney Tulloch had qualified for the final. He withdrew and was replaced by Pilakouris from Cyprus, who was the first alternate. So he went in that spot. And they were definitely in the introductions, just like, and from Gross Britannia, Courtney Tulloch, and he just fully smiled and waved, like close enough, probably. That's what you said. Yeah, there was like, that's me. Yep, I'm that. I got it. And I feel like that must happen all the time for gymnasts who are competing internationally at places where they don't speak the language or they can't pronounce their names. Like I'm sure it happens for Chinese and Taiwanese gymnasts all the time, where they're like, okay, well, none of those were the sounds, but I'm gonna guess that this is about where my name would be, so I'll wave right now. And I feel like that just must be a very common experience to be like, I heard you say sounds close enough to my name that I'm going to wave right now, and we're just going to go with it.
Yep, for sure. Have you ever been in that situation where you've been in a country and or you've been somewhere where someone says your name and you're like, that, no one else is coming forward, so maybe you mean me, but have you had that happen?
I have not. I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
I feel like you have that happen in America with your last name.
No one can pronounce my last name right. Yeah. I've even showed Reese my last name and be like,
simplify.
And I've been like,
don't overthink it.
How would you pronounce that? And he's like, but he did it. He said it correctly because he's Irish. But yeah. Also, because of my handwriting, which is American handwriting, which is basically like puke on the page, do whatever you want. There's no rules. I found out that in my workplace in Germany, they thought that my name was Tessica with a T. For a very long time until they realized that was just the way I drew a J. Whereas in Germany, everyone has exactly the same handwriting. Because there's a one way to do it, and that's the right way. And if you don't do it that way, how's anyone going to know? So, yeah, it's very weird. Anywho.
So you're not allowed to like go through a phase where you dot your I's with hearts or something in elementary school, which I feel like all the girls in my elementary school class went through a phase where it's like, I'm going to dot all the I's with hearts. And it's like, that takes a while.
With bubble writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to do the A's with the little tail at the top. Gross.
Make all of your A's an anarchy sign like we did. Yeah, no, I never witnessed that. I'm sure that happens, but everyone's handwriting, I was like, how do you tell who wrote this? It all looks exactly the same. So, okay, I want to talk about Dovtyan. I talked about him a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Archer Dovtyan, Armenia. One men's vault, obviously. It was like a Simone level victory where it was like he went first and it was like no one's gonna even come close to this. It was also a men's vault final at a World Cup. Like it was a total splat fest. If you stayed on your feet, you got a medal. But he was just like so far and away, stuck a Dragulescu better than everyone else. It was like, well, this is over. That was great. Just cancel the event. But I love that he stuck his Dragulescu and then immediately got delivered his like Red Bull or whatever energy athlete something just like presented to him with open hands like on a platter. It wasn't on a platter, but it was basically on a platter. After
always have a silver platter, right?
And I do feel like we need more sustenance deliveries after routines. And I feel like this is a serious issue, a topic we need to explore.
Yes, I agree, especially since we had Jordan Childs at the Michigan meet this weekend just eating blue, what's that fluffy sugar floss? Oh my God, I've been watching so much British TV, I can't remember
what it's called. Did you just call it candy floss?
Yes!
Instead of cotton candy?
Cotton candy, thank you.
Like a British person?
Yes, what's happening to me? Oh my God, this is my coping strategy, by the way, is BritBox.
This is why we're on the Great Britain waitlist.
Yes, if anyone works in immigration in the UK, please get in touch.
And it likes forgery.
So anywho, this is what I feel like this is an opportunity for a DoorDash sponsorship, for an Instacart, for a Dunkin' Donuts, a Cinnabon. Remember the world where Simone were still the days when Marta would lock them in their hotel rooms. That's kind of hyperbole, but not really. They literally weren't allowed to go anywhere. And so she would just post pictures of food.
When they snuck out, come to our live shows. You get those stories.
Yes, that happens too. So they just posted pictures of frosted cinnamon buns on her Twitter back in the day. So I feel like, a pizza delivery company like Domino's is all over the world.
You finish that meat and you've got the person there delivering you your cinnamon pizza or whatever.
Whatever disgusting thing they've concocted.
Whatever disgusting thing you want.
Oh my God. But yeah, you can have the
As
mascot
we learned from
there.
Yellow Jackets so far this season, you can DoorDash animal parts, intestines.
Don't spoil it. I haven't watched yet.
God, Jessica.
Oh my God. This is an opportunity for comedy, a positive nutrition aspect, and fueling, and also for the athletes to have fun and actually get to eat something. So
yeah,
I'm here for that.
No more complaining about how you didn't get the right food afterward, because the DoorDash is going to be there with what you ordered.
Exactly. Nothing was open. The coaches have to go out in the pouring rain and get burgers that are soggy.
We always hear this story of everything was a problem. They didn't have the food at the arena, so we had to do this. We can fix all that.
Yep. How many times does that happen to an American team? Every Worlds this happened. I think the last Worlds was the last time we didn't hear about that happening. Buy the food ahead of time. This is the lesson.
All right. Beam, Jo Yachin won, obviously. Just perfection in everything she does. It was glorious. Did you know, Jessica, what I learned from this routine is that it's possible to point your feet on a front tuck.
Shut your mouth!
Have you heard of such a thing?
No!
It's almost like we could expect that of NCAA gymnasts and deduct when they don't do it or something. But that's TBD. Unclear.
I've never heard of such a thing.
I know.
I don't.
Wild.
Yeah. I want to talk about I'm going to talk about Norway for a second, about Keisha Lockhart from Norway, but I do want to pause a moment to give a shout out to the ACC network, who used the proper letters for pit gymnast from Norway, whose name is
Julie Madse.
Yes. They had all the circles with the lines and all the things, all the dots.
And that's what it's called, a circle with a line.
Yes. American education is amazing, you guys. I know everything about all the alphabets. So shout out to ACC Network for continuing to be second only to BYU's coverage with the Mormon Billions and the SEC Network. So ACC.
Oh, they're the same thing. The ACC Network and the SEC Network. They're all in the same. It's the same thing.
But still. But for out of the South, we have the ACC.
Yes.
Anyway,
Atlantic Coast Conference of California.
That's literally. So anyway, back to Norway.
Yes.
Lockhart, talk about someone who understands the code, has read it. The expression and involvement of the body parts, which is literally what it says for the artistry checklist in the FIG Code of Points. My God, she is holding a ball of energy. She gets it off the floor. She, runs it all around from side to side. She puts a spell on it. She is pushing it into the corner to help with her next tumbling pass. It's so well done. This is when I say these routines are boring because people are just doing standing poses, pose. Then you see Lockhart move every body part in this segment of her floor routine, and you understand the difference between dance and standing poses.
I feel like this is the second year in a row she has dominated the artistry competition at Cottbus.
Yeah.
Where we're just like, that's the one.
She continually. The Nords they've been getting the message for a long time. They've been working on this.
And that's what they're called, the Nords.
The Nords. What is there a longitude, latitude level that I can refer to countries above the
Scandinavia.
But they're like Iceland isn't Scandinavian. Don't say that out loud. They'll be pissed. This is like because there's like
Don't say
Vikings and not
Scandinavian out
Vikings.
loud.
No, and you don't want to mix Finland with the then everyone's going to be. Where is the permafrost like always the Frosties, the European Frosties?
Oh, it's cute that you still think we have permafrost.
When it's colder in New York than it is in Alaska in the winter right now, everything's fine. Remember, you repeat to yourself, I live in the timeline where we fix all these things. I live in the timeline when we harness and change. This is what I repeat to myself in the morning. This is the timeline.
I repeat to myself, we live in the timeline where it's already too late.
Okay, speaking of, it's too late. This is why Greg Marsden
Things that are too late to be saved. It's NCAA women's gymnastics time. All right. Just a little recap of kind of what's changed this week versus last week. So LSU retakes the number 2 ranking from UCLA. UCLA had taken it last week. LSU retook it. Kind of turned the tables because this week UCLA got the higher score than LSU, but LSU finally got to drop their bad away loss score to Arkansas from a few weeks ago. So they got to move up more. So Oklahoma solid at number 1. They got 2 198s this past week. So they're going to have that ranking in perpetuity. Just what it's Oklahoma. It's number 1 forever. But LSU is number 2. UCLA is 3. Cal passed Florida for 5th. So Florida had that injury apocalypse meet and then counted a fall on beam at the very end when Leibway and Riley McCusker had to come in and we're not expecting to. And then we're like, which is basically the summary of what happened in that meet. And Cal had a season high 197.775. So they moved up into the top 5. Florida falls to 6. And the big move was Georgia entering the top 10 at number 9. So I guess it's happening.
Georgia,
happening.
What if Georgia ends up being the 8th team for the SEC championships? Knocks out Arkansas and
Georgia is in very good position to make it.
Right. That's the thing.
I mean, I think like they're not mathematically safe at this point, but they're in very, very good position. And everyone's basically distancing themselves from Alabama and Arkansas, who are increasing. Like Auburn got a 197.7 this week. So they're also just like moving up. And it's going to be hard for both Alabama and Arkansas to get out of the bottom position. It's looking increasingly likely that it will be one of those two, which is why we're very interested for the Alabama-Arkansas meet on Friday. Major implications.
And if you want to hear the like breakdown of everything that happened at the Florida at Oklahoma meet and all the discussion of how they can break the curse, and because there's like a curse on when Florida goes to Oklahoma and competes.
I love that you just assued like, and everyone knows about the curse, right?
Everyone knows. Spencer didn't remember about the curse, so I had to, he's so good with the numbers. But I want to give an example now, and if you're a visual listener, I will put this up on the screen and Spencer can describe it. Every time I talk about why the gymnastics coverage on BTN is so bad, because wrestling is great on BTN. Gymnastics is 99% of the time terrible. And I say it's an iPhone on the ceiling of the arena. That's why it's so bad. I want to present the evidence to exactly what I'm talking about, which is there is a lovely person who is a camera person for BTN and was very excited to shoot gymnastics, as you should be. It's a privilege and an honor. But unfortunately, this person was given the camera spot that is for, I don't know what sport, handball, basketball, something played on a court with many people.
I thought you were going to say it's for Quidditch because the camera is in the sky.
It's literally. Can you describe for the people what we are seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a camera that is in the highest possible place at this arena, in the rafters, like where Jessica had to sit at Montreal Worlds. And you were too far away to see anything, so that you might as well just not have a camera there at all.
Could you jump? Do you think? I think if you were standing here, you could, with a small hop, touch the ceiling from where this camera is.
The perspective is difficult, so I don't know about that. But
I believe in you, Spencer.
Okay.
And yeah. So I just want to say this is like a reason, like they're shooting it like a sport where you need a wide angle so you can see all the people at once. And that's not how gymnastics works. I don't know if you know, but only one person goes at a time. So,
and you need to be able to see their split positions. Otherwise, don't even show
what's the point?
I will insert my usual caveat that there's a difference between the Big Ten Network and BTN Plus. The Big Ten Network TV broadcasts are pretty solid, and those are the ones where you hear like Liv Karis. They have like there are some graphics things that I want to hone on those, but like it's a professional broadcast. The BTN Plus ones are students, and that's where we get the real problems.
I want to talk about some of the highlights from college this week, because it wasn't just an Achilles apocalypse. Some cool stuff happened. I did talk about the Cal and Pitt Pride meet, which was really cool. Darby Simcox wink and full head turn to wink on beam.
Oh, you do love a wink beam.
This reminds me of remember when Nina Kim did a double stag jump on beam and she in the air looked sideways at the judges. Your body follows your head. That's how physics work with the body. So if you're twisting or you're trying to set for a double back, for example, and you throw your head straight back, this is when you can
become a world champion.
You literally will be world champion if you're Bridget Sloan and you defy physics. But like, this is why you're supposed to keep a neutral head. You don't throw your head different directions. It is so hard to stay on beam if you're in the air and turn your head. So Darby Simcox, whose name I love also because she sounds like she was a cheerleader in Ireland in the 50s, I just love this little. It shows
that's a solid like YA wizard name.
Oh, totally. Darby Simcox. Yeah, but like a modern.
Like you're getting recruited to a school of witchcraft like immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have a magic frog you have to take with you who sings. So it is a show of confidence when you're on beam and can look, wink, and then hit your dismount. Like this is what I love about Pitt. Ondine of the British, who was basically guaranteed to be on the Olympic team and then lost an ACL. Sometimes that happens. Made her debut on beam for the first time since her ACL surgery. It was beautiful and fantastic and very enjoyable to watch. So congratulations to her. She also had little rainbow pride hair decorations. I don't know what else to call them except hair decorations, but they looked like those candies like that you can eat, but I'm sure they were not edible.
Candies
but who
you
knows?
can eat?
You know those?
Oh, I've never heard of candies you can eat.
Do you remember there was a fad where people would wear necklaces that were made of like these like light colored?
They were called candy necklaces.
What is the color? They're not primary colors. They're
pastels.
Pastel.
They were kind of pastel-y.
They looked like pastel edible candies in rainbow in her hair. But don't try to eat them because I haven't verified that. And also don't eat things in other people's hair without permission.
Yeah, whoa, okay.
And you never know what people are up to, you know. You know the Bay Area is wild. The Clemson coaches win gaslighting the judges award.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like we've talked about convincing the judges that routine was perfect. The intensity of the Clemson coaching staff celebration, and because it's Clemson that this is a very intentional decision. They're like, we're gonna have wild leotards and we're gonna like jump out of our skin at every deduction because it was perfect. Where's my 10? So yes. I feel like they're ahead of the game first place in terms of convincing the judges of scores.
I mean, they're selling out.
And maybe like screaming so hard there is a small windstorm.
Yes. I mean, this is how, that you're selling out arenas when you're only in your third year of your program when other schools have had gymnastics for like 30
it's second competitive.
This is what I'm talking about. They know what they're doing with the Leos. Yeah, it's great. Week 8 is for figuring it out. Mika Webster launching on beam. On vault. I want her on beam.
I mean, she did exhibition on beam and missed, but I feel like this is why we need her constantly doing beam because form-wise, she should be in this lineup. But yeah, I was nice. So UCLA rested Shay Campbell on a couple of events, so she didn't do vault or floor, which she's obviously, is going to be in that lineup. Mika Webster Longan came back in, and it was like, remember how I lost my spot in this lineup because I kept falling on my Yurchenko 1.5? Those days are over now. I'm going to embrace the theme of our cocktail of the week last week, which was dial it in. and she dialed it in. And it was definitely the highlight of that meet before the judges ruined it with their possible scores, that she nailed that vault, that Yurchenko 1.5. And now decision time for UCLA, because you need Shea in the lineup, and if she's continuing to vault like that, you need Mika Webster-Long in that vault, and not Weka Mebster-Long in, like I was about to say.
That's just Mika. There's no other Mikas. She's the Mika. I think that's...
But what about Alaska Mika at Pitt?
That's true. West Coast Mika. Even though Pitt Mika is also from Alaska, but she's at Pitt, so that doesn't count. If you want to send feedback to us, do so either in the message board. If you're a Club Gym member, you have a special VIP area at gymcastic.com, or you send us an email at gymcastic@gmail.com. And we have a letter. Also, if you have a corrupt or correct for us for next week that you want us to do, I was thinking Audrey Davis versus Sienna Alipio beam. But we can talk about that on College and Cocktails this week. But send us your...
talk about it right now if you want
correct
to.
Or correct.
What do you want to say about it?
What? Well, what do you want to say about it? Why? Both?
I don't know. You're the one who wrote it down.
I'm saying that's an option.
All right.
Anywho. Okay, so we'll save this one for College and Cocktails. Okay. But we have a letter first.
This is from MJ, who says, "Forgive the informality." First of all, you do not have to forgive the informality. That is the point. But as many regular listeners of your podcast can attest, we feel we know you. As your success grows, I suppose weird interchanges with listeners do too. I'm a harmless fangirl who marvels at all the stuff you and your small but mighty team creates. I know you're crazy busy, but when you get a moment, I want to tell you about how GymCastic has influenced me at an upcoming trip. Plus, I hope you will indulge me. There's some backstory. GymCastic is my pathway toward two goals: to elevate my love of gymnastics and to counteract the male-dominated obsession of our culture with sports ball. My love of the sport began with Olga Korbut in the 72 and 76 Olympics. I'm a little bit younger than her. I was the sole varsity member of our small high school's first gymnastics team. The other conference teams against who we competed, they were well coached and way more talented, were always supportive. Was it pity or good sportsmanship? They cheered me on as I competed in my two individual events, floor and beam. Hard to raise a cheering section at home or away beyond my coach and my parents and the athletic director who gamely attended most away meets. I realize now this was all prompted by Title IX and the need for the school to offer more girls' sports. Through the 70s, I began to assert myself right in the face of the patriarchy. I was the first girl sports writer, in quotes, at the local newspaper. My gal pals and I joined the boys' tennis team because the school didn't have a girls' coach or program. I admit I was fueled in large measure by envy of all the attention boys' sports and boys received. Fast forward many decades, my strident man-hating phase largely dissipated until lately. The strides and opportunities girls and women have made in sports is incredibly wonderful, but it wasn't until GymCastic that I found my people. Someone I could listen to talk about the challenges, the controversies, the beauty and joy of the sport. Thanks. Slowly, my husband has become a fan. The Fantasy League really made it possible to speak a language he understood from years of baseball sponge leagues. I'm still getting the hang of how to use all the information and tools needed to create my team. However, week 6, I finally got a respectable 197.75. This brings me to the extended road trip to the American South we planned together. Our intention is to try to understand the centuries-old injustices Black Americans face and to learn more about the effort it took and takes to move beyond oppression. I gave my husband, urban geographer and travel planner extraordinaire, the assignment of creating our itinerary to visit civil rights sites and to see some of the best teams. LSU at Kentucky, Oklahoma at Auburn, Kentucky at Georgia, Florida at Alabama, and the Quad in Huntsville with Alabama, Cal, MSU, and North Carolina. The itinerary includes sites in and around Atlanta, pop in on Plains, Georgia, Tuskegee, Birmingham, Selma, and Montgomery, Alabama, Fisk University, infamous Woolworths, and Jack Daniels Museum in Nashville for a little nip. Following college gymnastics is my retreat from current events, but I so appreciate Jessica's political portion of the show. Your candor and commitment to maintain awareness and hopefulness is needed. GymCastic, in a quirky sort of way, bridges my gymnastics passion, my intellectual curiosity, and a search for justice. Thank you for your fine work and for reading all the way to this point. Well, you're welcome.
This letter's so great. Oh, this is so great. I love this so much. Thank you so much for this letter. This is amazing. I love what you're doing. Now I'm like, oh, this is a great idea for a tour of gymnastics meets and putting something with it. Like going to museums, learning about the context of the area and what has happened and the civil rights movement there or whatever has happened. That's so awesome. I just love this so much. Also, what is a baseball sponge?
I think we'll find out.
I have no idea what that is. Is that a sponge league? Yes, we'll need more details. And if you're wondering what she's talking about with the resistance portion of the show, so on College and Cocktails, we have started doing a resistance update, talking about what's happening in the news, what's happening in resistance, what people can do if you want to take action. And we're doing that in College and Cocktails. And there's always links in the show notes if you don't want to listen or you want to wait because you need the happiness portion of your day be GymCastic. And then whenever you have the emotional chalk bucket full and can deal with resistance work, you can look at that. But 5 Calls app is something I recommend very highly and indivisible. So we will see you guys. We'll see you can hang out with Spencer, watch along and chat along with Spencer at 3 p.m. Pacific this Friday. It's very fun. People are loving this. And then we're watching Arkansas versus Alabama. Then we're doing College and Cocktails right as soon as the meet ends. Give us like 10 minutes after the meet ends and we'll start that. We're aiming for 6:30 Pacific time this Friday.
We've added a little buffer zone. So that's 2 hours after the meet starts, and the SEC network meets are supposed to be an hour and a half, but they end up being a little longer. So 6:30 Pacific should be a solid start time. So we've got a buffer for it to take a little longer.
Time for you to make your drink, which is the Releve Revelation.
Ooh, you need to prepare to give your Releve Revelation Award then.
Oh, I will. That's a great idea. Oh, I can always spot a good Releve because there are so few. Fantasy lineups lock Friday at 2:15 Pacific. And you never have to miss a College and Cocktails because we have a link in the show notes so you can add it to your calendar. Thank you to our listener who put that together. So if you want to know what goes on College and Cocktails, stay tuned because we'll have a little teaser for you right after this. Until College and Cocktails on Friday, please remember to take off on gay, split on rights. And thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on College and Cocktails on Friday.
Want to know what goes on our extra podcast every week that some call GymCastic After Dark? Here's a little taste for you.
Tonight's cocktail is delicious, you guys.
I am not. Tell me about it. It's quite a color.
It is the best. I forget what this one's called. Dial it in is what it's called. How would you describe this? It's green, like a fluorescent, like the color of nuclear waste escaping in The Simpsons. And I love the color because it reminds me of that MILF juice, not MILF juice.
Oh my God.
Nerf herder juice? What is the stuff they drink in the Star Wars? Anyway.
Know. But you just called it MILF juice. So.
Well, Nerf and MILF, and they're not even close. But anyway, you guys, it's Bantha milk. Thank you.
So
Bantha
not
milk.
MILF juice. So that turned out to be wrong.
Can we never mention MILF juice again?
Oh,
please?
No, we're going to be talking about that for years. Ryan says Bama jumped Arkansas. Yeah, it's going to get...
Behind the bleachers after school.
Due to budget cuts. There are no bleachers anymore.
No one was ever fighting behind the bleachers. They were doing all the other things behind the bleachers. So we had our photography teacher was a genius. And we had like a dark room and then we had a bathroom in there too. But the bathroom is where the one time when I got my pierced and then it got stuck, then I had my friend who was an amateur piercer, who was a boy, obviously,
Sure.
come into the bathroom with me. And I was in there being like, ow, 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 this hurts. And him like, okay, wait, hold still. I almost got it. Like, da, da, da. And, helping me with my piercing that was stuck. And then the teacher from ceramics knocked on the door.
If you liked what you heard, get more by joining Club Gym Nerd.